How Facebook monetizes artificial intelligence. The content for this podcast comes from my book, The Future of Everything. You can get a free copy of each of my 8 best-selling books at alexhammerbooks.com. That's AlexHammerbooks.com. How Facebook monetizes artificial intelligence. Although Facebook has been around a lot less time than Google, note to podcast, the last podcast was on how Google monetizes AI. It would not surprise me if Facebook has more actionable data than even Google. Just consider for a moment the amount of users that Facebook has and the amount of time which they spend collectively on the platform. And they have the potential to merge data points from a compilation of properties, which is even more impressive than Google, parentheses, and that's saying something, end of parentheses. Instagram, Messenger, WhatsApp, Oculus, etc. Facebook has an analytics precision which lends itself naturally to successful artificial intelligence monetization. This precision tops even leading precision expert Google. Google can provide an AdWord customer a detailed keyword cost and in the future performance analysis of an AdWord buy, etc. But Facebook takes their advertising precision to a greater level of targeting and granular detail. Reaching exactly who you want to reach is the ROI holy grail of advertising, and Facebook is without equal in that realm. In fact, Facebook's 2 major rivals for monetization of AI through precision and thus predictive analytics are Amazon and Uber, which will note to podcast, which will be the next 2 podcasts coming after this one. While targeting on Amazon is not as precise as it is on Facebook, Amazon possesses a much more valuable data set in regard to monetization than does Facebook. Your purchasing history. Although, note to podcast, after I'd written that, Facebook's made increasing efforts recently into commerce, which will only be increasing. Facebook's monetization model, in a more general sense, is very similar to Google's in that both are extremely dependent upon advertising and have not significantly expanded monetization into e-commerce and other areas. Both companies' failure to do so is based upon 2 primary factors. For one, Google and Facebook are far and away the 2 largest monetary advertising platforms on the internet. This dominance for each has given rise to so much financial success that monetization, expansion, and diversification has not been necessary. When you are one of the 800-pound gorillas in such a huge market, protecting your place by focus rather than possibly slipping by expanding into other monetization markets is the easiest and by far the safest strategy. But only in the short term. In the longer term, the more effective strategy is to have a monetization strategy that includes or combines multiple markets. One might argue that Facebook and Google have thrived for years with their current strategy. True, but look at the landscape. Technology breeds consolidation through efficiencies. Both Facebook and Google have been the beneficiary of this consolidation principle until now, forcing smaller players out of the market or to the margin. But what happens in the future as this consolidation continues and there are only a very few most significant major players left? Parentheses, someday even the IBMs of the world are likely to be acquired by one of the largest remaining tech companies. End of parentheses. When this occurs, then it will be a battle to see who is the strongest among the very few giant companies which remain. That is, when the market is reduced to only a few players, and I'm talking about the entire technology market here in this example, then the only way to have future growth in market share is at the expense of one of the other huge giants still remaining. And at that time, a broader monetization capability can be the differentiating advantage. Amazon, who we will examine next, by being the extremely dominant player in e-commerce, and then beyond this extending their monetization capability well beyond e-commerce as well, is positioned extremely well for that type of scenario. The limits of Facebook in AI monetization. Have you ever known people in whom their greatest strengths are also their greatest weaknesses? It is the same principle with companies. Think about this. In regards to scope, how much of your life resides on Facebook? While some Facebook users certainly seem to share everything on Facebook, many do not. Yes, you say, but the Facebook universe now includes much more than just the original iconic social network. True enough. Facebook as a company is broadening. Instagram, Messenger, and WhatsApp are closer to extensions to Facebook's social network function than expansion into new markets, but they do build out capabilities and reach new, parentheses, but also overlapping audiences. Oculus is a different animal because Zuckerberg has realized that there will be another dominant platform after mobile and is betting that VR will be it. Google has YouTube, but if VR does become the next major platform, then YouTube and other properties across the internet would also have to become a VR platform to keep up with Oculus and VR pure plays. And Google, while it's investing in VR, does not seem to have the industry-leading VR capability which an Oculus, if successful, would have. Amazon would potentially appear to be in worse shape than Google in regards to vulnerability to VR. It's the next disruptive platform, although Amazon might not be in as bad shape in this area as it would first appear. Although Amazon's core e-commerce business has essentially no current VR capability, Jeff Bezos has taken actions which demonstrate that he may well be smart enough to overcome this. In particular, the breakout hits of Alexa and Amazon Web Service, and also Amazon Studios, each could be bridges to VR success. Alexa's voice system, which also is a major threat to text and link-based search, can expand into VR capabilities in the future with voice as the bridge. VR will be hosted in the cloud eventually, parentheses, decentralized and/or distributed networks, by the way, seem to be the future of everything, even money, end of parentheses. In Amazon Web Services, expertise and dominance provides Amazon a VR bridge there. Amazon Studios is a further VR bridge. So if and when VR becomes the next major platform, Amazon is in fact, parentheses, although on the surface it does not appear to be, well positioned to develop and then monetize VR. The above will, parentheses, or could, help Amazon develop VR and its e-commerce dominance integrated with VR could, if things break right, easily become the world's dominant AI monetization engine. But let's finish our examination of Facebook AI monetization before we examine Amazon AI monetization also in more depth. The interest graph. The social graph can be more than just a social graph. It can be an interest graph as well. In the section below, AI monetary disruption by industry or larger scale, I will discuss how the interest graph is and possibly the critical factor in AI monetization in regards to moving from a push to a pull business model. In regards to Facebook specifically, let's just say that when you know what a person is interested in, then you are close to identifying their wants, aspirations, and needs. Parentheses, remember before when we talked about intent. And those are the things that you need in order to most successfully monetize artificial intelligence.